Bob Stevens, esteemed basketball coach Rich Basirico, and Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick. And someone's going under the bus.
Hey, welcome to Under the Bus. I'm Justin Jarrett, sitting in for Bob Stevens, LowcoSports and Loco Media founder. Bob is still on assignment in Africa. We patiently await his return. We hope he is well. Any signs of life from Bob, fellas?
Haven't heard from him.
No sign.
I think you're on assignment at the softball game, right?
I am. I am always at a softball field these days, it seems. And by the way, joined by Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick, as always, here on Under the Bus, presented by Hudson Seafood House on the Docks. I'm at a softball field all the time now, boys. I'm the head softball coach at Hardyville High School, 1A
Nice.
program, first year varsity since 2012. And we got our first win on Wednesday night over Allendale Fairfax, 24 to 12. It was an adventure. We got 2 touchdowns, one of them a 2-point conversion in the first, and then we held on for dear life, won it 24 to 12. Yeah. It was a great outing for us. We needed to get a win under our belt. It was good to be the better team, the more prepared team for once, with a bunch of girls who have never played the game before. So it was really fun. And tonight I got off softball practice and came straight to my daughter's rec softball game. So coming to you live from the softball field tonight, but I'm not going to have to talk much after this outset because I have a feeling you guys have a lot to say from the last 2 weeks, which have included what is the best 2 weeks of college basketball every year. 4 number 1 seeds to the Final Four notwithstanding. It's just a tremendous 2 weeks of basketball, and you guys are junkies. So I'm going to mostly get out of the way here and let you guys talk about the tournament and just lay into whoever you need to lay into. So have at it, fellas.
All right, thanks.
Well, Rich, we haven't been on for a couple of weeks, so we've got the whole tournament really to reset and get some people. But before we start in the tournament, I wanted to bring up something that just happened the last couple of days. This guy and this incident were why we invented Under the Bus. The guy is the perfect scenario, and that's Ja Morant and his gun gestures.
South Carolina's own, boys.
I mean, I'm such an anti-gun guy. I hate guns. I don't ever want to see a gun. Right. So anything that these guys do with guns, I am against. But Rich, I want to know, he just got fined $75,000 for right in the face of the commissioner who ordered him not to do this, and he did it anyway.
Well, I think he should be suspended. Why? He's been told over and over again to stop it. And why do you have to do that? I mean, these guys are role models for young players, and what's the purpose of doing that? What does he get out of it? Does it make him feel good to do that? It doesn't make sense, and the commissioner should fine him. I'm not fine him, fine him and suspend him.
Well, his history with real guns is what got him in trouble in the first place. Got him suspended. He missed parts of seasons. He's always getting, he's just he and his dad is apparently a big influence on him, and they're just disruptors. But this latest thing, he's not just gesturing with his fingers either. I mean, he's doing a rifle. He's doing a rifle shot at the opposing bench. And, Rich, I'm like you. Little kids see this, big kids see this, and they think it's cool, I guess. I don't know. But
they've had to.
Young players follow what they do. Think about, even just a simple thing as putting the 3 fingers up, making a 3, or, Curry, who I respect so much as a player, he's got the shimmy shake with his shoulders, and all these guys got their own thing. They're professional athletes. They got to understand these young kids are watching them all the time, not just sometime, all the time. And why they have to make that statement, just make your statement by being the best player you can possibly be. Do your job on the floor, score, defend, rebound, take care of the ball. And why do we have to have all this other garbage that goes on? It's ridiculous. And coaches should put an end to it. Coaches should put an end to it.
I agree with you. The 75,000 fine. They don't care about that. That's a drop in the bucket. He's not gonna do anything about that. I agree with you. I think suspensions are the only thing that matters to these people. Just take them off the court. And I think maybe he didn't do the suspension because it's so close to the end of the season. Memphis is going to be in the playoffs. They're fighting for, a seed, whatever.
Right.
But maybe Silver did not want to suspend him because how many games, could he say, okay, you're suspended until the playoffs? Well, that's ridiculous. He could say, look, you're suspended for the first series of the playoffs. I think that might get into his head and might be effective. But you're right. Suspension is the only thing that Morant, responds to.
Exactly. Well, it's like even in high school basketball, coaches will have their players run suicides, as a punishment. That's to me, that's the worst thing you can do. Running is part of the game. So why are
Right.
you punishing them by having them run? That's what you want your players to do. You want them to run and get up and down the floor. So I had an old saying, the quickest way to an athlete's mind is through his rear end. Have them sit. When they sit, they figure it out real quick. When they know they're not playing. So that's the same thing in the NBA. Put them on, put them on the bench. It's the money, like you said, Curry. $75,000 to him is like $75. I mean, it's nothing. Put him on the bench. He'll realize real quick how important it is what he's supposed to do.
The thing to me that Silver's got to realize is this guy, he was just warned not to do this.
Yes.
In the first game, he made the winning basket Thursday night. But in the first quarter, he's doing his gun gestures right after he was told not to. I mean, it's a total in your face to the commissioner.
Right.
I think he's got to respond now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a great
Well,
message
and
to the
Rich,
rest of the NBA too.
To your point, Rich, that the kids watch and they emulate. I mean, they've had to make rules in high school sports in the past couple of years and college as well, where they, it's an automatic technical foul now in basketball, automatic red card in soccer if you make any kind of gesture of simulating murder. Right. Is what they call it. I mean, if you're shooting at somebody or slashing the throat, any of those gestures, it's just automatic. And I think it probably needs to be at the professional level too, because we want that to filter down. And so it's going to filter down. Whatever you see at the highest levels is going to filter down. And so we need them to emulate what we want to see at the lower levels.
Absolutely. You're so right. You're so right about that. So,
well, let's get back to the colleges and college sports. And the biggest event, of course, is the Final Four this weekend. We're going to see and they are the best. It's the first time since 2008 that they've had the 4 number 1 seeds get to the Final Four, and it's really neat when that happens. I remember I was in San Antonio the last time this happened. Of course, it's back in San Antonio again now with the top 4. I've been reading so many stories this week about how it's tough to hate Duke anymore, that the Duke haters are kind of calming down and they're not hating Duke anymore. I'm not sure that's
not you, is it?
No,
that's really not you.
No. Well,
I have to disagree. I'm with you, Curry. The hatred is as real as ever.
Well, and the hating started with Krzyzewski, and because he was so, he won 5 of these things, but in the course of doing that, I don't think he showed much, humility, kind of an arrogance. The Duke arrogance has always been there. It's tough to. This kid Flag, though, who's the best player in the country, it's tough to hate this guy. Rich and Justin, he's so good, and he does, he plays the game the correct way. He doesn't whine too much. He doesn't bitch too much. He doesn't play dirty. He seems to do everything correctly. And Shire, the coach, seems like a really nice guy. I mean, I'm a Carolina guy. I should hate this. But it's tough to hate Shire,
You're right. You're right. There's still some residual hate, but they are enjoyable to watch. You're right. They play the game extremely well and play it the right way. The 7-2 kid is unreal. Just unreal. I can't think. God. He is something. But you're right. Shire, you called him Baby Rat for a while there. I feel that maybe you're softening in your golden years here on your Duke hatred. So
I
that's
agree.
that's personal growth, Curry. That's personal
Yeah,
growth.
yeah. I hope. Well,
I
he's
can
going to be.
guarantee he's not pulling for Duke in the
Well,
Final
let me
Four.
ask you
That's for
this.
Yeah,
sure.
that's for sure.
I think we all going into the tournament. I think everybody kind of thought that if Duke wasn't the best team, it was because Flag wasn't 100%. Now we know he's himself. Are they the team to beat this weekend, or
Oh,
is another
without a
team the
doubt.
favorite? Yeah,
Without a doubt. I mean, they have so much. I mean, think about it. They're number one in offense and fourth in defense. I mean, how do a lot of times you get teams that are so strong. One like Alabama is so strong offensively, but defensively, that's why they lost by 20 points to Duke.
right.
They're so good on both sides of the ball and the depth that they have. And Flag isn't the only, he's a tremendous player. As Curry says, the best player in the country, which is true. But they got some other players that's pretty darn good.
Yeah,
And they get it done. They're well coached. It's interesting, Curry. Krzyzewski didn't win a national championship until his 11th year.
Yeah,
Stryer has a chance to win it in his third year.
third year. Yeah.
Third
Well,
year.
he's got four. He's probably got four NBA lottery picks.
Yeah.
In his starting five. So it's not like he's stumbled upon. He's been a genius to make this team up. But the way he has built the guys around Flag
Yeah.
is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Proctor, of course, Proctor's been there. Proctor's going to be an NBA first rounder
Yeah.
easily, probably a lottery pick. And then Knipple, as you say, if Flag wasn't there, Knipple would probably be the star player in the country. I mean, he's so good.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And they got James, here's the other thing, how he balanced his team out. He got James from Tulane as a transfer, who's a heck of a defensive player.
Yeah.
So he's got,
He looks like a
he went
football.
out and put the pieces to the puzzle extremely well, extremely
Yeah.
well. I don't know if he could do any better than he's done.
Let me
Um,
ask you. Let me ask you in a general movement of the tournament. It seemed to me toward this oligarchy of the big conferences, and the disappearance of Cinderella early in the tournament. People were saying that was a real negative, but I don't know. I think it might be a trend because with NIL money, all these big
yeah.
conferences, the big schools are going to get the best players, don't you think?
yes,
Well,
without a
and
doubt.
yeah,
Well, the mid-major teams don't have the money that the big, conferences have, and I don't think you're going to see the Cinderella teams. I'm not saying it
no,
never happened, but you're not going to see it happen as often because they can't keep up with the big boys. Because
no,
even the average player, if he's getting paid big time money, he's moving on. And you see a lot of these Division II kids going to Division I schools and
right.
doing very well, really, really
Well,
well. Look at
and this
Drake.
this
I
this is
mean, it's
happening. This is happening as we speak. Look up. The last real Cinderella in the tournament was the Sweet 16 team, the Florida Atlantic, which made it
yes,
Sweet 16 in 2023. But look what happened to that team. The coach Dusty
Hmm.
May goes to Michigan. The
yeah,
center Vlad Golden goes to Michigan.
right,
The guard Elijah Martin goes to Florida. He's one of Florida's key guys this
yeah,
weekend. And then the other guy, Janelle Davis, goes to Arkansas, which made the Sweet 16 a lot because of him. I mean, these
yeah,
these guys all left Florida Atlantic, and they're all in these big programs.
Yeah,
And
and all
yeah,
about money. It's all about money. I mean,
yeah,
if they didn't have the NIL, those guys have left? Would they've left if
right.
they still
Well,
have
and
the
the
transfer? You had to
the
sit out one
the
year.
free
They probably would never
transfer,
left.
yeah, yeah, the transfer portal and the free transfer without penalty has
Yeah,
changed
well,
it
and
all, and then the NIL. It's just, but what leads to is everybody finds their level, I think, and so it just the rich get richer, and the mid majors become a stepping stone more than they used to be. When you used to be able to run a program at a mid major, and every 2 years you had a senior and a junior in the backcourt,
yeah,
and you had a chance to make a
yeah.
run because you
Well,
had a bunch of guys who had played together for 4 years, but that just
look
doesn't
at
happen in small schools anymore or anywhere really.
look at this year. Cinderella might have been Drake, and
yeah,
and Drake got in the tournament. There was all this publicity about them, and they got eliminated early. And the coach and the star player ends up at Iowa. I mean, they were at
right.
Yep.
Iowa almost immediately after they lost they lost in the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, still, that was a done deal, obviously.
Well, the other Cinderella was McNeese, and they were 1 foot out the door for Raleigh before the thing even started. So
exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
it's a different world.
I want to go way back and do an under the bus. Now that we're speaking about Duke, I have to give it to my Tar Heels as under the bus because they got into the tournament on a break and everybody said no, they don't even belong. But they blew out San Diego State and then they play Mississippi, and it was a mirror of their season all year. They got down 9 points in the first 4 minutes, and they never got back. They were playing from behind. They made this great rally in the second half to come within what I think they cut it to two.
Cut it to two.
Yeah, and the kid from Virginia Tech that's now at Mississippi made the three. We go under the screen. We go under the screen. He makes the three, and we lose. I mean, it's under the bus to Hubert Davis because he doesn't get these guys ready at the beginning of a game. He did it against Kansas early in the season, against Auburn. We played Auburn in Hawaii and got way behind them early and came back on them real close, came back on them to 2 points, and then they pulled away again. I mean, the Mississippi game was just as I said, a mirror of the season. Now, if we come back and beat Mississippi, the next game was Iowa State. Mississippi pummeled Iowa State.
Right.
So let's say we win that. Now Carolina's in the Sweet 16, and they're going to play Michigan State, who we played in Hawaii this year and took to overtime. And then, if we take them out, I'm just explaining here, we get Auburn. We get Auburn again in the Elite Eight. So under the bus to my Tar Heels. Sorry.
Well, I'll follow suit. And do the same for my Mizzou Tigers because I think they got the worst possible first round draw that they could have gotten with Drake. It was just a terrible contrast of styles for them. And if they had won that game, then they would have gotten to play Texas Tech, who I don't think is that strong. And then they would have had Arkansas, which upset St. John's, which we own that rivalry. And then we get another shot at Florida, who we beat in the regular season, and we're looking at the Final Four. So, yeah, we can all play this game.
So we got the wrong teams in the Final Four. What's going on here? The wrong.
Yeah, it was supposed to be North Carolina and Mizzou. And I don't know who else, but those two for sure.
Well, Curry, talking about Herbert Davis in coaching, having his defender go underneath the screen is bad enough, but then having the guy who's defending, the guy who's setting the screen, that defender from North Carolina, why is he 3 feet below the screen? So when that guy comes off the screen, he should be hedging. I don't know, they probably not switch, but hedge and be there so that guy doesn't get the shot off. But he's 3 feet below it, so the guy gets screened. The guy defending the screener is too far below the screen, and he's got a wide open look. That to me is not good. That's not the way you handle defending a screen. And that pick and roll. How many guys, when you watch college basketball here, the guy that sets the screen and then rolls to the basket, how many times do they hit that guy rolling to the basket? 1 out of 10 times. 1 out of 10. So what are you worried about? Why are you dropping so low? Be up on the screen. Be above it.
Well, the thing is, the kid Padula, that hit the shot, played at Virginia Tech last year and killed us last year. Yeah. So we got to know about him. And, as again, we go under the screen. Let me say one other thing before we get away from North Carolina. I want to call out and put under the bus my boy, Joey Brackets, Joe Lenardi. After he kept killing North Carolina because he didn't have North Carolina in the tournament in his prediction. So he starts killing North Carolina. Even after they beat San Diego State and lost to Mississippi, he was still nailing them after they lost to Mississippi. That's why they didn't belong. But Joey Brackets missed a big one this year. Nobody talked about, and that big one was Xavier. Xavier had a worse record and lower numbers in all categories, quad one, the net, everything the committee looks at, than North Carolina did. And yet nobody mentioned Xavier being a bad choice to determine. What's Lenardi? Come on, let's get on it. And I just wanted to bring that up while we're on the Tar Heels.
Well, I'll throw you a discussion point. We suggested that Cooper Flagg is the best player in the country, the best player left in the tournament. And I don't think there's too much argument there, but if there is one, it's probably for Walter Clayton Jr., right? That guy has been incredible, and he put him on his back to get him to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, that's those. Florida was dead in the water against Texas Tech, and the way they were down, was it 9 with 2:20 to go in the game?
9
And
points
Something like that.
less than 3 minutes.
right,
Yeah.
it was 2-something, and Clayton hits 2 unbelievable 3-point shots, and especially the one where he was in front of the rim and dribbles back out behind the 3-point line. You're sitting there going, "What is he doing? What is he doing?" And then he buries the 3.
That's my guy.
He's a terrific player. A lot of people compare him to Curry. He went to Iona. He actually was
with
playing
Stephen
Stephen Curry, not Curry Kirkpatrick. Stephen Curry, not Curry Kirkpatrick.
Steph
Well,
Curry.
Texas Tech, with the 9-point lead. Also, their 2 stars, Toppin and Darius Williams, missed the front end of 1-on-1s.
Yeah.
Both of them, when they were up, they were still up 9 when that happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just killed any momentum.
The other thing, Curry's Toppin took a bad shot. They were playing extremely well, and they getting the ball to the rim. I mean, they were scoring, taking it to the basket and scoring around the rim over and over. Even when they missed the shot, they get the offensive rebound. Then Toppin comes in. He was sitting on the bench for a while. He comes in and shoots a 3-pointer. Why do you need a 3-pointer in that situation? You're winning the game. Control the clock. I know you got a shot clock, but take some time off the clock. He comes right in and with I don't know how many seconds shoots a 3. They didn't need a 3 then. They're up by either was 6 or 9 at that time. They didn't need a 3. And from that point on, I thought Florida took control of the game because they hit 4 3-pointers down the stretch. So you got to give them credit for that. But that was a tough loss for Texas.
Yeah, their
last
4 basket were 3s. Florida, 2 by Clayton. I want to bring up Clayton again, Rich, because earlier in the tournament, Florida also had a scare, not just a scare,
by
terror
Connecticut
against Connecticut.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the best games of the tournament, as was Florida Texas Tech. But in that game, Clayton again hit 2 threes at the end of the game to basically win the game for Florida. And he was sensational in that game. And while we're on that, I want to throw under the bus. And, for a while, I thought he wasn't going under, but Danny Hurley showed his true colors. I was watching him. Carefully at the end of that game as the dynasty ended. And I thought he was incredibly classy. I remember he stood at half court. I was watching him as his freshman McNeely made a 3, which, by the way, turned all the bets in America upside down, the over and under to kill that. But Hurley then embraced Golden, the Florida coach. He just didn't shake his hand. He embraced him and he talked to him for a while. I mean, he talked to him for a couple of minutes, which is, really unusual. Especially, he so wanted the threesome to win a 3rd championship. And in the face, he just was showing me some class in the face of agony. He went right down the line. He hugged every Florida player, Justin, every Florida player he hugged. And then, I thought this is incredible class after he loses it.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes later, he goes in the tunnel and starts screaming at Baylor. I hope they don't F you like they F'd us. Screaming at the Baylor coach and the players who were Methodist, by the way, and he's screaming F-bombs. And of course, he apologized later. Even worse for Connecticut. One of Hurley's honks, one of his PR guys, he tells the guy, there's a camera guy, there's a media guy taking video of Hurley's outburst. And apparently the Connecticut honk, his name is Bobby Mullen, I remember, SID. He goes up and he tells the guy, his name is Joey Ellis. He says, Joey, erase that, get rid of that, or I'll ruin your life.
I'll ruin your life.
I mean, come on. I mean, this would be hysterical if this wasn't such mafia stuff.
Are we sure this isn't Patino's program? That sounds like a St. John's story more than a UConn story.
Well, but I think that's what Hurley would have wanted him to do: get rid of that tape.
Oh,
And,
100%.
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
that he's the one who directed him to tell him to ruin his life if he doesn't
yeah.
get rid of it.
And of
But
course,
no,
I guess
they made such a stink about it that this guy isn't supposed to be recording there. Man, we live in a society now where you're on camera
Right.
all the time, for better or
yeah,
worse. There is
yeah,
no denying the way you act, and you alone. I tell the children every day that you and you alone are responsible for your behavior and your actions, and no one can make you do anything. You chose to do what you did, and it
Right.
doesn't matter whether it was recorded or not. You did it. And so, I mean, this guy, how many times do you have to show your ass
Well,
before
I
he
mean,
brought,
somebody says
you know,
he
something
brought
about
more
it?
attention by telling that guy he's going to ruin
Yeah,
his life. He brought
it's
more
the
attention
Streisand
to it.
effect.
Now
yeah.
everybody wanted to watch. Everybody wanted to watch it.
Yeah,
Hurley's got to control himself. He's
And
out of control.
Hurley later apologized
He
everything
always,
about
he always
everything about.
oh
does.
But
yeah, yeah.
it's too
That's
late.
because
We're
his
sick of
wife
this.
tells him to apologize.
Yeah,
His,
we're sick of his apologies after it
Yeah.
happens. And
You can
apparently
only apologize for the same thing once or twice, and then
yeah.
it's hollow.
Well,
well,
speaking of your boy Patino, Justin, let's talk about
My boy
the
now, huh?
the passion play that was Patino against Calipari. I know it was an
Oh
early
my
round
God.
game, but oh my God, it was a great event. And you know, if the game wasn't so ridiculous, these two teams missed 90 shots
it
combined.
was awful,
Ar-
awful.
Arkansas and St. John's missed 90.
Right.
And of course, the game's a 2-point game, and Patino suddenly benches his best player, J.R. Lewis, who's admittedly 3 for 17. He's having a terrible game. He benches him, and he never puts him
Puts him
back
back.
in. Rich, what's the
Yeah,
story?
I didn't
5 minutes.
understand that. I could see him benching him because he came in and they cut it to 2, and he took a terrible shot, off balance, doesn't even hit the rim. I get it, he takes him out, but I don't understand why he doesn't put him back in. I mean, think about this. St. John's was down the whole game. First half, they got down double digits, come back and go up by 4 with about 3 minutes to go in the first half, up by 4. I'm thinking, okay, the momentum shifted their way. And the next 4 possessions, they shoot 3-pointers. Why? Why you got the 4-point lead without shooting 3-pointers? They shot 9% from the 3-point line.
And they're terrible
Nine.
shooting team. Yeah, they're
Nine
terrible
Oof.
shooting
percent.
team.
So why isn't Pitino saying to his players, guys, that shot's not there for us? Now I know coaches will say, well, we're going to keep shooting and we'll finally eventually make them. Not when you only make 9%. You're not making them,
Well,
and
the
you,
whole
you
the whole team the whole team was terrible, Rich. And Patino after the game, he said, "Well, don't ask me that question. You know why he sat him." Well, everybody
right,
knew he's 3 for 17. But Rich, I want to ask you. He took his best player out with 5 minutes to go in a
right.
2-point game. Have you ever benched your best player and not put him back in just for punishment, or what's the
No,
story? You want
no,
to
no.
win the
I mean,
game.
I've obviously take players out when things they're not, good shot selection or just not playing, not hustling, not playing good defense, or turning the ball over too much. But your best players, I guarantee you, 99.9% of the coaches are putting them back in. You might
Yeah,
have a word with him and have him sit for a
yeah.
couple minutes just to kind of calm down and see the floor and see what's going on. But surely you're going to put him back in.
I
I've never
talked
seen
to
that happen.
I talked to a couple media guys afterward, and they said, this is par for the course for Patino. In a couple of big games over his career, he's taken out his player, or he's blamed it, to blame a loss on a player. Of course, after the game, he said, "I'm not going to knock my own players." But by
Right.
benching him for 5 minutes, he's putting
Yep.
the L on that guy. He's
Right.
Yeah,
obviously doing that,
Of
and
yeah.
I think it's a head game. He and Calipari, it's a head game. He just
Yeah.
hates. I don't know. It's just
Like
afterward
he
he said,
scapegoated him. Like he scapegoated
"Yeah,
him. Like if I hadn't
he's
had
done
to
that.
take my best player out of the game for the last 5 minutes, we would have won. Type deal.
He's done
Yeah.
that his
Right.
whole career." And
Yeah,
he got real
Always.
snippy. He got real snippy to the press after when they asked him, why is Lewis down? He said, "Well, Lewis played 30 minutes. That's a lot." But he didn't play the last 5, the
He
most
didn't play
important
crunch
5
time.
minutes. Didn't
Well,
play.
and
Yeah.
and in college basketball, you don't need a lot of rest because there's so many timeouts.
Yeah.
My lordy,
Yeah.
all the media timeouts, the coaches' timeouts, and the timeouts at college basketball because the commercials are forever. How can anybody get tired? You play 4 minutes
Right.
and then you have a seat. Then you play 4 minutes more, then you have a seat. How can somebody get tired in college basketball? I
You
don't
got to be
believe
in
it.
bad shape. That's the
Very
only way.
bad shape.
And
Very
a
bad.
lot of people watched Lewis' face in the last few minutes of that
Yeah.
game as he's on the bench. And the general consensus was he's in the portal about 5 minutes after this game, which is exactly what happened. I mean, he's gone. He's in the portal. Everybody,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he put his name in for the draft and the portal,
Right,
Lewis,
he
Yeah.
did.
because
He did.
he's
But
that good. I mean, he want no more part of Patino. I still think it's such a head game between Patino and Calipari. And Calipari, by the way, is 9 of the last 11 meetings. He's 9-2 against Patino.
yeah.
Daddy.
I asked a couple of guys there who know Patino and Calipari and their relationship. Everybody's writing about their relationship. I asked a good friend of mine there who's followed them a long time, and he has this great line about it. He said, well, described their relationship. He said, well, if either one of these guys was drowning in the lake and the other guy was there watching and there was nobody else around, the result would be one dead body in the lake.
No witnesses. No witnesses.
Well, the thing about Patino too, he will never admit that he made a mistake. Never. Like when
No.
that game against Duke, when Grant threw that long pass to Leitner, and he didn't have anybody on the baseline defending. And even he'll say to this day, I would still play it the same way. That's a bunch of BS. There's
Yeah,
no way.
I wish he justified it.
99.9 coaches would put a man out of on the guy
Yes.
throwing the ball inbounds, and for him to say
Yes.
I would change, I wouldn't change that. He's crazy. I
Yeah.
But
mean, take your
that
tallest
play
player.
changed how every coach defends that situation for the rest of
Exactly.
time.
But he sits there
Yeah.
and goes, no, I would do it the same way.
Yeah.
He'll never admit that he made a mistake. He's got to come out
Stubborn.
sooner or later. Even when his assistant coach was bringing in all these girls when he was at Louisville, and he goes, well, I didn't know anything about it. How could you not know about it?
All the
You're the
hookers. He has
head
a hooker.
coach.
He has a hooker
Yeah.
dorm. Hooker dorm. He's got a hooker dorm, and he says he doesn't know anything about it. I guarantee you, every barber in Louisville knew what was going on,
Yeah.
and Rick Pitino
Oh
says,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
come on. I mean, Louisville basketball is the biggest thing in Louisville,
You're
and
right.
By far.
the whole community knows what's going on. And when they have a hooker
Absolutely.
dorm, yeah. So I don't know. Well, let's get back to the
Word
other
gets
guy, though.
around.
Yeah, let's get back to the other guy, the guy that won the game, Calipari. This tournament proves we have the Cal experience, which in one set, has these glorious wins, and then this total brain collapse
Right.
in another game. I mean, he beats Kansas, he beats St. John's, and now he gets in against who was it, Rich? Texas Tech. Arkansas plays Texas Tech. They're up by 17 in the second half. Calipari's up by 17 in the second half to get to the Elite Eight.
Right.
I mean, and he freezes. Texas Tech keeps coming back. I mean, he totally freezes until
And
now.
what adjustments did he make? What adjustments
No,
did he make? Nothing.
nothing.
And then at the end of the game, when they had
And
the
he
ball,
goes
he
to
didn't call
overtime.
timeout.
He goes to overtime. Texas Tech makes a great shot. Arkansas's got the ball with 9 seconds. They bring the ball up. He freezes again. He doesn't. I watched him, Rich. He has his arms over his head, not calling timeout.
Right.
He's not going to call timeout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
He says his players know what to run. What did they run? They ran garbage. They didn't run. They let
they
the
ran a
guy
terrible shot.
create himself. And the
DJ
idea that
Wagner.
coaches will say, well, I don't want to call timeout because it gives the opposing team a chance to set up their defense. That's garbage too. Worry about your players. Get them to where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do. You're worried about the other team. Worry about your team. If you prepare them and they know sideline out of bounds play or what you want to do at the end of the game, in running a play. His player just created himself, no screens,
No
nothing. It
screens.
was up to
Yeah.
him to create a shot for himself, and he got a
And,
terrible shot.
and it
When
was
coaches
DJ.
don't call timeout, that's just like they're not sure what the hell to do. So I'm just not going to call time. Let the players do it. If they don't make the shot, we'll put it on the players' shoulders.
I think a couple players were looking over at him to where's the
Without a
timeout?
doubt.
And
Without a doubt.
instead they get the ball to DJ Wagner, who's been, not inconsistent his whole life,
Right.
and he takes a terrible shot and they lose the game.
Yeah.
And then, afterward, Cal acknowledged I should have called timeout. At least unlike Patino, he admits things like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now it's too late.
Well,
Now
who
it's too late.
you boys got winning it this weekend? You taking Duke or are you taking somebody else?
I'm pulling for Houston
Yeah.
because I have them in my bracket, but I think Duke will win. I really do. They're just playing
Yeah.
extremely well right now. Houston's very good now. If anybody can beat them, I think Houston can because defensively they're
Yeah.
number one in the country. They're really solid defensively.
Yeah.
They're
They
not
got some
offensively good. I mean,
absolute
they're ranked 10th in the
dogs.
country
Good.
offensively, but and plus they have a veteran coach. So
Yeah.
they get a lot of things going their way, but Duke is so strong and so good on both sides of the ball. I mean, we've watched enough Final Fours to see upsets all the time. Not that this
Sure.
would be a huge upset, but I think most people think that Duke will pull it out, and I do agree. And I think
Yeah.
Florida will beat Auburn in the other side of the
Yeah.
bracket.
I've got Florida
Yeah.
in my bracket, so I'm hopeful yet. But
Well,
I think Duke's the best team going in.
Florida handled Auburn easily back in December at
Yeah.
Auburn. And I agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to be any different. Auburn's got some health problems, I think, with Broom.
Room.
I'm not sure he's 100%.
Well, he says
And,
he's 100%. He says he's ready to
yeah, I'm
go.
not sure.
Let's-
Yeah.
But I think Florida matches up really well with Auburn. I'd be
Yeah.
surprised. The only difference is Curry, and we've talked about this more than once. Their coach, Todd Golden, you could see that game against Texas Tech down the stretch. I mean, you could see the pressure on him and not knowing. I'm not saying he didn't know what to do. Obviously, he got his team to the Final Four, but the inexperience. He's only been he's been a head coach 6 years, 3 years at San Francisco and 3 years at Florida. But Pearl, obviously has a lot of experience, has been to the Final Four before. And Golden might, down the stretch, who knows how he handles that situation. Of course, people are going to say, well, they beat Texas Tech at the end. Well, they did. You're right. But I do think he felt the pressure and didn't know necessarily, like kind of Calipari, what am I supposed to do here? Clayton took over. Surely he didn't have Clayton looking for those shots that he took, but he made them. And obviously they're in the Final Four. But Bruce Pearl might, because of his experience, might make a difference there. But I think Florida's the better team. And I think Duke. I think the Duke Houston game will be a heck of a game. I really do.
I think Houston's got a real shot.
They do.
Because not only is their defense so good, this year they can shoot the ball. They've got three guys at 40% on threes, and if they can get their shots, I think they've got a real good chance against Duke. Of course, I'm looking at it from a Carolina guy standpoint, but I had in my brackets Florida beating Houston for the title, so
Okay.
I did as well.
You're still alive. You're still alive.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had as well. So I'm hopeful. I am running out of battery power, so I'm walking into the darkness to go charge my phone. But Rich, you had a couple of local notes as I'm live here in the darkness at Oscar Fraser Park in Bluffton, South Carolina. And I mentioned I'm the founder of LowcoSports. We cover local sports here in this region. And Rich, you've got a couple local notes of some significance.
Oh yeah.
One of your Hilton Head Prep guys, and then a guy who's a son of one of your former Hilton Head Prep guys.
Yeah. Well, Sean Curso, he played for UT Chattanooga last night. They won the NIT.
That's right.
He came off the bench, hit a 3, got 4 rebounds, and was part of that victory last night. It was a great win for Chattanooga. First time a Southern Conference team has ever won the NIT. Obviously, it was their first time too, and that was a fun game to watch.
And Irvine misses a layup at the buzzer.
A
That was,
layup, a
it was
layup.
terrible. It
I
was
know that.
terrible finish. Yeah.
Yeah, how about Chattanooga misses 2 foul shots, and then they have a
Yeah.
chance to win the game, and he misses a layup.
Unbelievable.
That's something he'll remember the rest of his life. And then the big one, James Lehman. He's what a great story about James going to Wofford and being redshirted, and last year not getting a lot of playing time, and then had the right attitude and continued to work hard and never gave up. And now he's a starting third baseman for Wofford. But what's the best thing of that is not only is the team doing extremely well, James leads the UConn Southern Conference League in batting. He's batting 398 right now, and
Whoa, it's a Hilton Head
so
kid. Hilton Head kid.
he went to May River High School.
Bluffton.
James
Yeah,
Lehman.
May
Yeah.
Bluffton
River
guy.
High School. But I coached his
Yep.
father and his uncle and his two
Yep.
uncles and his nephew. Oh, so we have a great connection.
And his older brother.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've uh,
Matt
I've
Lehman
lost count
is
of how many
now
laymen
on
I've coached. So
his,
it's a great
yeah.
family, a great sports family there. It's amazing how his dad goes to all his games. They went to Kentucky when they played in Kentucky. He drives up there every
Yep.
weekend, and the Lehman family is amazing how well they support each other. It's incredible. You go to any game, I guarantee you, most of the Lehman family is going to be there. But James,
Yep.
it's a great story for young kids in terms of, he got his chance and look what he's done with it. Last
Yep.
year he was kind of the cheerleader, had a great attitude, was the first guy out of the dugout to congratulate his teammates. And this year he's getting his shot, and now he leads the Southern Conference in batting. I think he's fifth in stolen bases. He leads, I don't know, third or fourth in being hit, walks. I mean, he's all over the place in terms of that, and it's a great good feel story for James and his team and his family. So kudos to Sean and to James Lehman.
I'm quite a few layman's behind you in my coaching career. Only one so far for me, but he's a tremendous young athlete as well. James is, I guess it would be
Pop,
nephew. Yeah,
yeah,
nephew. Keaton. Yeah.
okay. He's a
So
good little player, isn't he?
he sure is in multi-sports, football, basketball, and baseball. And I'm sure
Great.
if he picks up any others, he'll be great at those too. That's the that's the family. Good
So,
Pittsburgh folks, by the way. Good
That's
Yinzers.
right.
so we started.
Very loyal to the Pittsburgh teams.
Yes,
So we
they are.
started.
Yes, they
We
are.
started. We started this thing with a villain, John Moran, and we're ending with a hero, the Lehman family. So that about wraps it
There you
up.
go. There you go.
All right,
Heroes and
guys.
villains. Both all
Thank you,
from South
guys.
Carolina, by the way. So,
Oh,
well, thank you, fellas. It's
I
been
just want to
fun.
bring up one. I just want to bring one note about this tournament that I realized halfway through it. There's a player for Mount St. Mary's who was a starter. Intriguing is that both of his names are schools that were in the tournament. His name is Xavier Lipscomb, and he's a 6'2" senior from Washington, D.C. He played for Mount St. Mary's. He got 6 points versus Duke in the final game, but they went down. But I just wanted to mention Xavier Lipscomb, one of the few times the guy who's both his names has been in the tournament.
That's pretty neat. That's
Yep.
kind of cool. Yep. All righty.
All right. Well, our guy has gone, I think.
You think Justin's gone? Or
I think
he's frozen?
I think he's frozen, so we better sign
Okay.
on this
All
time.
right, sign off. We'll see you, Curry.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Bear.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
listening. Take care. Bye-bye.